But I wanted to welcome everyone. We're going to have a great program today. We've got a couple of faces that we haven't seen in a while and a new face. So we always love this. So let's go around quickly and do some little introductions, give your 30-second spiel, and then we will just dive into the program. Or Brian, would it be better if we waited and did the networking portion later because it might tie in?
No, that's fine. Just go ahead and give everybody a chance to get to know each other.
Great. Well, Judy, you're not in the Marsha corner on my screen, but you're close. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Hi, I'm Judy Taylor, former Colorado resident, and I'm doing this with a little tear. I live on the East Coast now, and you all know what that's like. I'm a blogger and a writer, freelance journalist, and most recently went back to a teaching career of tutoring children with reading problems. And that's a good fit right now. With all that's going on, that's a good fit, is to help kids learn how to read and literacy work. So I'm feeling comfortable about that. Happy to rejoin you.
Perfect. I love it. Well, Brian, we're going to skip you and let's go to Suze.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. I am going to turn off my camera after I do my introduction. I work for the Jackson County Council on Aging. I have a new job as connector. And what does a connector do? A little bit of everything. Actually, I'm doing what I've done before, try to find grants for new vehicles, make sure that all of my seniors have the services they need, find new services, be on the coalitions that we've not had people on before, and just enjoying myself because I'm doing what I love. Oh, and I cannot get ahead on my stained glass cross orders. Just every time I post one, I get 2 more orders.
I know.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It is, and I enjoy it.
So I love
literally
it.
and figuratively.
Thank you.
Cool.
So I will be here, but I won't be here.
Okay.
Yep, we understand your internet connection is a little shaky, so better to lose you this way. That's just partial. So cool.
Yes.
So Dana, our new member of the group. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and let us know how we can help you.
So hi. I'm actually in Texas, so we've been getting a lot of rain too, which is unusual for us. I'm a philologist, so I love words, the origins, how to use them. So I do a lot of writing on that. I am also part of a group that is bringing manufacturing back to America and connecting all the manufacturers together. So we have a platform that manufacturers can use, that not only can they be found, but they can find who's looking for different parts. And it's been really highly accepted, and a lot of government funding is coming in for that, because that's the new thing since COVID is we got to get it back to America as much as we can. So I'm just really glad to be here. I came because of Deb, and so I'm going to look forward to this.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Ms. Jane, what have you been up to?
What haven't I been up to is a better question. Obviously, I had a conflict, or I used to, so I'm hopefully going to be here a little more often on our mornings. For those that I haven't seen in a while, and for Miss Dana, I'm a PR independent and have been for 32 years. And I am working with Western Governors University. And Miss Suze, I need to connect with you because I have sources for older adults. I work with a foundation called Next 50. And so, and they are opening up $7 million worth of grants here in the next few weeks.
And who's funded me? That's who's paying for my wages. Is Next 50.
Nice, Next 50. They're my client. Yay! That's awesome. So I don't need to connect you. You already know. That's good. But anyway, have a couple of interns that are going to be listening to you, Brian, as soon as we.
Where are they? There they are. Turn around, wave at us.
They're turned around.
They'll come closer once the program starts. But
cool.
From CU and from Metro, and I'm just all around a happy camper, Miss Deb.
I love it. Well, and for everyone, Jane has been having interns from the universities around the area for Good golly. Seems like a bazillion years, but it's not quite that far.
162.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it has been such a benefit for the young PR pros in the area. And so it's always fabulous. So very cool. Very cool. Mr. Roth, what's up with you, sir?
Hey, good morning. And here's a word for Dana since she likes words. I'm super fantastic today. So I'm the COO of Roadmap Technologies, and we provide IT services to small to mid-sized businesses. And I reside in Georgia. And Deb and I had a fantastic meetup
In
last
person.
week. Yeah.
Nice.
What was it, 3 hours?
Wow.
Oh, at least. We
Yeah,
had
my
a
wife-
very good chat.
Yeah, it was so long. My wife texted me. She said, "Are you still alive?" So glad to be here, and look forward to Brian's presentation today.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and just turn it over to Brian. So take it over, sir.
All right. Well, everybody, if you want to mute yourselves, go right ahead. I'm going to hit my screen here and share it. And let's do this. And you should see my Asana screen there. It's Marie looking for a chat. So let me start this. And you can unmute yourself, anybody, and just tell me once I hit play on this here. Can you see my screen? No, you can't, because it's on. Is it? Or can you see it? The turning your CRM into an ATM?
Yes,
Anybody?
I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. All right. So, full disclosure, I want to kind of let you guys know up front. Deb and I are working on something together. I'm not here. We're not here to sell you anything. We're just here to kind of give you the information. So I don't want you to feel like this is a pitch. It's not a pitch. It's a training based on a lot of research that I've been doing recently. And the turning your CRM into an ATM is a metaphor that I use for bigger B2B businesses. But the thing is that anybody can use this. It is not necessarily 100% driven to, B2B businesses, but the concepts I'm going to show you today, I think, are going to be interesting, especially if you've been on LinkedIn and played around in that game. And so let me get started with this. And at the end, there's a link that you can go to. It takes you to a page, but it says what I'm asking you to do is download the case study, even though it takes you to a page that looks like it's a sales page. Just don't worry about that. Just look for the case study and download it when it's done. If you want to join, that's a whole different topic. Talk to Deb about it. But anyways, so let me start. So anyways, the concept of turning your CRM into an ATM, it kind of sounds like hyperbole, but it really isn't. And it's based on something that actually happened. And there was a company that I worked with last year who did what I'm about to show you, who made over $1 million in sales. And let me explain how that works. So the case study I was talking about talks about bridging the gap between marketing and sales. And what I do is I help these companies basically create marketing stuff that helps their sales teams communicate with people. And what I'm going to show you is how that works and why. And you can apply it in your own business no matter what you do, whether you're a solopreneur or working for a bigger business. It works no matter what. So bridging the gap between marketing and sales is a case study. And what we did is we took content that we created for them, and it includes ebooks and webinars and blog posts and some videos and a little bit of everything. But what we did is we put it up on social media, on their business pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Google Business. And it amplified those messages. And then what it did is this content, if somebody clicked on it on any of the social media, would lead people back to their website. And from there, they were able to capture leads. When I say capture lead, if somebody downloaded an ebook, they would put in their email and name, and that information would get back to the company, and then they would assign that to a salesperson. And the salesperson would then be tasked with having a conversation with that person, not to sell them anything, but just say, hey, I saw you downloaded this ebook, or you came to this webinar, or whatever it is, and just basically start the conversation. And so that's essentially what it was about. So the outcome on this is, now keep in mind, this is in a pandemic year, is last year they had over 1,000 leads. And those 1,000 leads averaged about 100 per month. Now, this particular company I'm talking about has over 10 salespeople, so it wasn't a ton. It was people that were communicating and bringing. So if everybody brought in 10 people a month just to, have a conversation with, that was huge. Out of those, they closed about 25% of those, and the average sale for this company was anywhere between $100 to $100,000, but when they averaged out all of their sales, it was around $5,000. So with that, they were able to close about $1.25 million in additional business based on what I'm going to show you. And of course, that turns into the $1 million bill, which I don't know if that's real or not. I don't think it is. But anyways, I do have one of those on my desk, but I couldn't take it to the bank. My wife works at a bank. They won't take it. But anyways, the big idea from all of this is that sales comes from being top of mind. And whether you're trying to do a sale or work with somebody or accomplish something, it all is about being top of mind. And the bottom line is your network is your net worth. But if you're doing 100% of your sales online, if you have one of those kind of businesses that's e-commerce based, chances are this is not going to work for you because it's relationship based, marketing and selling and things of that nature. But if you sell to individuals, or if you have a team that's selling to individuals, this really, really works well. So most of you guys know me pretty well. I've been on LinkedIn. I was one of the first 1,000 people on LinkedIn since 2004. And I'm an author. I've written multiple books. I'm a speaker, podcaster, relationship marketer, and a frequent guest, or not even a guest, but just somebody who shows up to these meetings. And that's because I love y'all. And I love Deb, and she's an amazing person. So thanks for having me. And so just to kind of give you a little context to how this came about is my first book that I wrote, It's Not About You, It's About Bacon, is about relationship marketing. And it really was about, how relationships transcend from meeting face-to-face and in person to online and how the two of them coexist and why it's important. So it's all about building one-on-one relationships. The next one is the Bacon System, and the Bacon System is built around the concept of if you have a business, and this is strictly for that, is that you should have a website that you drive people to. You don't want to use social media because social media alone can shut you down. I've been blocked for Facebook. Matter of fact, I couldn't even do a Facebook Live today if I wanted to because they blocked me for 30 days. I don't know why. It was a caption. It wasn't even a caption contest. It was a quote. And they said it went against their community standards. And I couldn't post for 3 days, and they blocked me from doing any Facebook Lives for 30 days. So you can't really build a business on that. So what I teach people is create a great website that talks to your clients, use analytics, understand the data of what's happening, how people are getting there, where they're going, how much time they're spending, what's driving traffic, all those kind of things, and then create content around that so that you're talking to your right audience. And the concept of that content is you're going to put that out on social media, in email, in print. You can do it in books. You can do it in postcards. You can do it in anything. But the concept is you want to get people back to the website because it's the easiest way to capture data. And so when you do that, that works as a system. The content drives traffic to the website, the analytics measures it, and all of that works as a Bacon system. That's what it's about. And then social media, email, all the other things are periphery. And the last book I wrote is called Toilet Paper Math. And Toilet Paper Math is about what people get. There's a lot of bright, shiny objects out there. And toilet paper math is about walking down the aisle at your Walmart or your Costco or something like that. And you see this big aisle of toilet paper, and every one of the packages says, 8 equals 64, 9 equals 120. And what they're doing is they're putting less toilet paper on a roll. They're putting more of it on a roll. The pieces are smaller, but they put more of it on a roll and give you a double roll. And then they sell it to you for more than what they used to sell it, but they make you feel like you're getting more for your money. And when actually you're paying more for less. And so it's about how people get manipulated online and how businesses can overcome that. And it's based on all of the things that we're going to talk about today, plus those other two systems. So one of the things I want to talk about right up front is that John Wooden, one of the most prolific and successful basketball coaches, believed in the basics. And that's where we've got to start. And that's essentially what I want to teach you is a lot of the basics today. I'm not going to sit here and show you what buttons to push or any of that kind of stuff. But what he did is the first day of practice every single year, whether you're a senior or a newbie or a freshman coming in, is he would make everybody tie their shoes the first practice. That was it. Tie your shoes, untie your shoes. Tie your shoes, untie your shoes. Second day, he would make them all stand and just dribble in place. Left hand, right right hand, left hand, right hand. Third day, he would make them dribble and walk, dribble and walk, dribble and walk, and then dribble and run. And you wouldn't even be shooting baskets the first week, because the bottom line is he believed in the basics and understanding those concepts. And that's essentially what I believe in too, is once you understand the principles, the rest of it is easy. So there are three big myths that I want to kind of overcome that have happened in the internet marketing space. I know, Deb, you've seen these time and time again. Some of you have seen them too. And that is, grow your list, get as many people as you possibly can on your list. And if you email all of them, I talked to somebody yesterday who has 19,000 people on our list and has no sales to show for it. And the reason is because you already have what you need. You don't need to grow your list. You already have it. It's already sitting somewhere within your purview. The second big myth is that you need to create more content. And the truth to that is you already have content. You're probably just not utilizing it in the right way. And when I talk about content, it could be anything from how you speak to people, to phone calls, to emails, to website, to blog posts. It's anything. It's putting it in the right container and distributing it the right way. And then the other thing is that, all of this stuff, this prospecting and marketing takes way too much time. I'm here to tell you it only takes 10 minutes a day. I'll show you how that works. I did it today. I reached out to 12 people and already had somebody come back and say, whoa, I need your help. And it's really super easy. So now I'm going to put it in the hyperdrive, people, because listening to me is like drinking from a fire hydrant. And so put away everything, take notes. I'm going to spend about another 20 minutes really cramming through a lot of information in a short period of time. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to forget everything you know about online marketing, social media, LinkedIn, all those things. Just let it go. Any of your preconceived notions, I want you to think differently. So forget everything you know and come to this with an open mind. So the first big idea that I have for you is this. You already have what you need, right? The biggest thing is you're not utilizing it yet. So I was given this presentation at Central Washington University when I wrote my first book. I was asked to speak to a marketing class there with a bunch of students. I finished my presentation. I was all proud of myself. I'm an author. I got 5,000 followers here, 10,000 followers there, all this other stuff. And this kid stands up and says, you got a lot of followers, but what has that got to do with Dunbar's number? I said, I have no concept of what Dunbar's number is, but I'll research it when we're done. But I got lots of followers and I'm doing well. I mean, people are paying attention to me. This is really cool. What Dunbar's number is based on an anthropologist out of England who basically did a bunch of research who said that the average person can remember about 150 faces. And that's considered to be your tribe. And if you take it back to early days when we were hunters and gatherers, tribes were made up of a bunch of different people. Some people would make fire. Some people would go hunt. Some people would actually then cut the meat up and cook it. Some people would take the pelts and turn them into clothes. And the leadership would go around and figure out where the best hunting ground was, and it worked as a society. But the human brain really does have a cognitive limit of about 150 people. Those 150 contacts are what we consider to be people we can maintain a social relationship with. It's based on trust and obligation, and there is a cognitive limit. It's been proven, too, also in primates, that if a gorilla sees gorillas that it knows and likes and trusts, it reacts a certain way. It reacts with love. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I heard the other day I thought was really interesting is that most animals scream out of fear. But humans are the only animal that will actually scream out of excitement and other things. But what happens is that if the primate recognizes the face, it treats it with love and respect and all those other things. But if a gorilla comes in that it does not recognize, out of that 150, it starts screaming. And the reason it's screaming is because it's afraid it's going to come take your banana or something worse. So there's a psychological component to this, and there's a mental component, and it's basically built into our brains. The other thing I want you to realize about this is that 60% of our social time is devoted to our 5 closest friends. So the people that we spend the most time with are the ones that actually can help us become better at what we do, define who we are, and they can improve our network and our productivity in a lot of different ways. They help us get more done quicker. And this 150 number has also been proven in the business world by a company called Gore-Tex that makes waterproof clothing. And they figured out that 150 was a perfect ecosystem for a factory. And the reason is because when it got over 150, productivity went down. When it was about 150, it was at its optimum. And what they did is they started building factories with 150 parking spaces. And as soon as people started parking on the lawn, they ended up building another factory. And they found that to be a model that they used for years and years and years, and they still do it. And that's based on a bunch of studies that they've done. So the question for you is, are you building a tribe, or are you out there trying to become an influencer? And there's a big difference between building a tribe and being an influencer. So I saw this one ad on Facebook, and you may have seen it too. It's the LinkedIn Rainmaker. I completely stopped cold calling because I got 150 plus prospects. Okay, well, here's something that I want you to understand is what they're saying is that you can go on LinkedIn and get 150 prospects. But what you need to understand is that prospects are not in your tribe. It reminds me of the Geico commercial where this lady stands up and says, "That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works." And the other lady says, "I friend you." And it's true. It's not how it works. Prospects are not in your tribe. Your tribe is made up of something different. So what a lot of people on LinkedIn, and you probably have seen this, what they try to do is they try to get you to get as many people as you can, connect with all of them. There's a couple of people out there that say you can connect with up to 30,000 people, and you're going to make sales from that. So let me give you an example why it doesn't work. Let's imagine you're trying to sell 30 llamas, okay? So what they tell you in this cold calling strategy is all you have to do is make those 30,000 connections and spam them. You don't know them, but they're going to automate it for you. You automate it, and you send everybody out of those 30,000, "I've got llamas for sale." And out of that, you're probably going to get about 10% who will respond and engage. They'll open it up, they'll look, and it's like, "Oh, he's selling llamas. I don't need a llama, but it's kind of cool. I like llamas." Out of that, you might get 300 people that message you or contact you in one way, shape, or form, say, "Tell me more about your llamas." Out of that, you'll probably end up selling about 30 people. And out of that, you might get 3 repeat customers. But herein lies the problem philosophy. A, it takes a lot of time. But B, you're going to end up pissing off about 29,000 people in the process, and some of them are your family, friends, and potentially customers. But I think there's a better way to do this. And this is what I call the tribe strategy. And the tribe strategy is that you have 150 personal connections. And this is your tribe. From there, those are people that know, like, or trust you. From there, we get to the know and like portion, which is 1,500. Maybe they know you, maybe they like you. You've met them at conferences and local networking events, and in lunch club, or maybe you met them through Toastmasters or something like that. But they know and like you, but they haven't quite gotten to the trust portion. And then finally, we have that outer range of about 15,000 people that know of you, but maybe don't like you yet, and maybe don't trust you yet. And when you sit and look at those 150 are made up of your personal connections where you can have a personal conversation with. The other people are acquaintance connections. They'll pay attention to you, but they may not want to have a conversation with you. And then that 15,000 is your sphere of influence. How do I narrow down that 150? Well, the way I do it is I use a CRM. When I was in the middle of the pandemic, I had about 6,000 people on LinkedIn that I was connected to, and I brought all of them into my CRM. And what I did is decided to clean that up. So I went through and said, have I physically met this person? Is it somebody that I know and like that I want to stay in touch with? And when I started going through that and saying, I haven't heard from this person in a while, they have nothing to do with me and my business in one way, shape, or form. I can't recommend them. They can't recommend me. We'd never do business together. We really don't have anything in common. When I got done with that, because I had a lot of people in there that basically hit me up and say, "Hey, I'd love to connect." And the next thing you know, they're pitching you, right? It's like, "Hey, yeah, I can help you. I'm a coach," that kind of stuff. So I narrowed it down. And after I got done cleaning it out, I had about 1,500 connections. So those are people that I know and like, people that have been on my podcast, people that, I've met in person, all those kind of things. From there, what I did is I identified my personal connections of 150 people, and I starred them inside of my CRM. So I basically broke it down to 150 people who I wanted to stay in touch with every single month for one business case or another. So who's inside of this 150? Well, the first one is my current customers, people that I work with. Now, the next group would be past customers, what we learned inside. I'll talk about that a little later and why that's important. And then we have prospects. Now, when I talk about prospects, this is somebody, not somebody who is potential that I want to sell to. This is somebody I've actually had a conversation with. Nobody gets into my CRM until I've had that conversation. The next one that I wanted to pay attention to was vendors, because vendors have a vested interest in their success through your business. So you want to make sure that they're in that and you're reaching out to them. And then we get to the periphery, which is your friends. And then finally, the connections that you make at networking events and things of that. So those are the people that are inside my 150 network. And based on that, when somebody calls you, or excuse me, when you call somebody, you are a salesperson. That's what the prospecting thing is based on. But when somebody calls you and they know, like, and trust you, you're the expert. They're calling you because you know what you know, and they know that. The reason this is so important is because all sales only happen one way, either through a phone call, an email, or in person. Very rarely, unless you're doing all e-commerce, are you going to sell something online. So in one way, shape, or form, you have to have that personal connection. And the reason is because businesses don't do business with other businesses. People do business with people. So the next big idea is this, all right? You already have tons of content, right? And that content is just not being utilized properly. So one of the things that we do is we tend to get into this bright, shiny object thing. And I see this with big businesses and small businesses alike. If you only master Instagram, if you can only get on TikTok and put some videos out there, you're going to find somebody who's going to pay attention to you. And so, you know, even the 30,000, we'll connect you with 30,000 people and we'll spam them all for you. It's like, you know, it sounds really good on paper, but it's a bright, shiny object. And what I found during the pandemic is that a lot of people were panicking and they spent 70% of their time prospecting, looking for new customers, and 30% on their current customers. But there's this thing called Lunch Club that I joined last year early, you know, as we were all networking and trying new things and trying to figure out, okay, what does this world look like? I jumped on Lunch Club, and in November I met this guy named Tom Agan. And Tom is somebody who works with large companies like Kraft Foods and IBM, and he's been in the Harvard Business Review, Forbes. I mean, this dude he's a big time heavy hitter. And we had this great conversation. We get 45 minutes to talk to each other. And I asked him one question that changed my world. And I said, Tom, if you could tell me the one thing that the big companies that you worked with saw the most success with, what would it be? And he said to me, well, that was pretty easy. The data told us exactly what they needed to do during the pandemic. If they spent 45% of the time on their current customers, 25% on their past customers, because they were moving jobs, and those were a connection that potentially could get you into another company and amplify what you're doing, and 30% on prospects, that would be the most exacting way to communicate with people in this pandemic world. And since I've talked to him since then, he says it's still working. He says that seems to be the formula. And so spending 70% of your time on current and past customers and 30% on prospects is where it made all the difference in the world. So let me explain this with llama food in something I call the open process. And this is basically, how do we communicate with these different groups? And say you have llama food to sell, okay? So the open process stands for oblivious, pondering, engaged, and need. Oblivious is somebody has sheep, and because they have livestock, I think they may buy llama food. And it doesn't work that way. They have sheep. They're not going to pay attention to your stuff. As much as you think there's a connection there, it's not. The pondering is, I'm thinking about getting a llama. I think it'd look really good with this blanket and this llama. I think it'd be really cool to have one. So they don't need to know details about the nutritional value, how to get it, all that stuff. They just need to know that you sell llama food. They need to be made aware. The engaged group is one that is, hey, I'm taking pictures with my llama right now, and I'm going to get this thing. I really need to know, how much do I need to feed it? How often do I need to get it? Where do I get it from? How long does it take? What's the nutritional value? What's the different things that I need to know? They need to be educated. So the engaged need to be educated. And then finally, these people have a llama, and they need to get it now. So they need to know, not only, can I get my llama food delivered, but maybe they want a llama blanket, or maybe they want a llama iPhone cover or something like that. So they might not only buy food from you, but they may buy accessories. So that's oblivious, pondering, engaged, in need, or the open process. Now, we spread this out in the true marketing sense of things. We don't care about the oblivious people. We care about the pondering, engaged, in need. We'll call them cold, warm, and hot. We need to serve up 3 different kinds of material to these people. The first one is awareness content. They just need to be aware of your llama food. That's it. Those are awareness graphics. They're not selling anything. It's not long form. It could be pictures with a link. It could be something super, super simple. Engagement is the educational side of stuff. That could be blog posts, could be webinars, could be videos, but something that talks about the concepts like we're doing here today. This is educational material. The next one is need. And those are where the sales happen, either pre-sales, post-sales, or during the sales. If you buy a garage door, you want to know how to operate it, right? How to set it up, how to hook it to Wi-Fi. That's after you bought the garage door opener. You want to make sure that you understand all the things that are going on with that. But the biggest problem is a lot of concepts, and people sell you things that are working on the cold and the pondering people. That basically is cold calling, when Tom Agan told us that we need to focus more on the engaged and need portion of those people. So why does this matter? Well, it matters because the people who are going to be aware, that's the 15,000 people that may know you, but they just need to know that you do what you do. They don't need to know why you do it, how you do it, all that kind of other stuff. They just need to know the what, right? This is where they need to know the how. Okay, how do you do it? What makes you different? How do you make them think differently? And this gets down to the why. And the why means you have to have a conversation with somebody and get them off of social media. So the awareness content is about your sphere of influence. The educational content is about the people that know and like you. And then the detailed conversations is about your tribe. And the goal with all of this is to attract your perfect customers, to use the right side of that magnet that is going to attract them, not the cold calling methodology, which potentially could repel them. So we all think we know our perfect avatar, and I don't have time to get into the details of that, but the bottom line is most of us tend to spend a lot of time focusing on the advertising mindset. How do I get new customers? How do I reach them? How do I sell them something, right? What we've learned today is that you really need to focus on these things. You need to focus on your current customers first, your past customers second, and your prospects third. And 70% of your time is going to be spent with those current and past customers, and then 30% on your prospects. Sales happen on a phone or in a call or an email or in person. That's what we're really focusing on, is how to get those people off there. Big idea number 3 is your audience cares about you, especially your tribe. But the key thing is they all have one problem and you solve it. And that's what you have to do, is you have to figure out what problem you solve for what audience and communicate that. In business, it gets very complex. When you're dealing with simple issues, you have one problem and you fix it. The door doesn't close, you get a new door, you fix the hinges, whatever it is. In business, everything is a lot more complex. If you fix an assembly line problem, you may put 3 people out of a job, or they have to get retrained, or, so there's so many different things that whatever your problem you're trying to do might solve, it might create others. So you need to have a concept around how you communicate those messages in a way that emotionally connects with your audience. Now, a lot of us make the mistake of thinking that our audience is interested in money. But in reality, a lot of times, what our business friends and partners and people that we know, like, and trust are interested is in time. They want to spend more time with their family. They want more personal time. They don't want to work as hard. So what I try to do is use the Vulcan mind meld trick. And that is where Spock put his hands up and he can actually read somebody's mind and then communicate back to him. So the things that you got to think about is what's keeping them up at night. Is the big problem time or money or a combination of both? Next thing is, what is their pain with this? How does it affect their life? The problem is affecting them. They have a pain. Your job is to solve it. So what's your aspirin and how can you help relieve that pain? And then finally, what makes your aspirin better than, say, the generic brand sitting next to it? Because if somebody can get it cheaper, they will. You've got to make them understand the value of what you provide. I love this quote from a guy named Jonathan Hayton. He says, "Love and work are to people what water and sunshine are to plants." And the key thing is that you need to be the water and sunshine to your customers. So here's one last big idea, and that is about attracting prospects. And when we're talking about that, because I'm sure everybody wants to know that too, you can do a lot more with less effort. What a lot of people talk about is this top-down prospecting, which is cold calling methodologies. Reach as many people as you possibly can. And that's what connect and pitch. That's why people connect and pitch with you on LinkedIn. And that's why, people are saying connect with 30,000 people and do that. But when you understand the success rate of cold calling in general is a 1 to 3% success rate, and direct mail is a 0.2 or 0.5 to 2%, which, direct mail, email, it doesn't matter. Cold email will get about the same thing. But the bottom line with you is your network is your net worth. And that's the key. So if you can optimize those 150 people, communicate with those 1,500, they will help you share that out to those 15,000. But a lot of people say, I don't got time for this. So I want to give you one tip that has worked for me. I did it today and I've already gotten results from it. It's what I call my 10-10-10 bring home the bacon strategy. And here's all it is. It's really super simple. Oops, I'm sorry about that. It didn't go to the other slides. But what the 10-10-10 is 10 minutes, 10 people, 10 words. And the 10 minutes are, I spend 1 minute per person to write them an email, send them a text, connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a Facebook message. It could be a happy birthday. It could be I meet them in person, but I'm connecting with 10 people a day. If you did that every single day for a month, you would connect with over 200 people, 10 a day, 5 days a week. There's about 22 working days per month. But if you can get it to 150 that you could do on a regular basis, it's great. And all you have to do is connect with them with 10 words, 2 phrases. How are you doing and how can I help you? Now, I know that's not exactly 10 words, but that's the concept is, hey, it's been a while since we talked. Hope you're doing good. Want to check in and see if you wanted to have a coffee. Want to check in and see if you need anything. Whatever it is, you're asking them, how are they doing and how can you help them? And the way that this works is if you reach out to those people yourself and you reach down to 150 people in your tribe, you would have 150 people that you would be having conversations with in one way, shape, or form every single month. But when we take that to a sales team, we take it to multiple people and they're sharing your message, I can take one message and share it to everybody on an entire sales team at the same time. And that now amplifies that exact same message to over 1,500 people who are seeing a unique post. And that's how we help that other company make that $1 million. And the way that we do that is making sure that we're optimizing their LinkedIn profiles and giving them an opportunity to see how this works. And the way that we do that is we systematize it. So the first thing, you've learned a little bit about the why behind the how. But the next thing, this is where Deb comes in, is she can help polish your profile. And what we teach you in here is how to make the quality connections. That's really the key thing is, how do you make good quality connections that end up in your tribe, those 150 and those 1,500? Then the next thing you have to do is figure out how to create cohesive content. And I've already shown you the open method with awareness content and educational content and sales content. You have to make sure you're sending the right content to the right audience. And then next we have to get those focused content out there into the hands of the right people at the right time. You don't want to send awareness content to people that have already bought from you. And you don't want to send sales content to people that are just pondering and thinking about that. So you've really got to make sure that you're sending the right content to the right people. And last but not least, when you have people in your CRM, you keep track of what you're doing with them. And that's one of the reasons. I don't care if you have a sheet of paper, a spreadsheet, or an actual CRM, or something as complicated as Salesforce. The bottom line is that your goal with all of this is to create more interaction. So what a lot of people try to get you to do, and why I struggle with this too, and probably you do too, is because we've been taught to play tic-tac-toe. It's a super easy game, right? There's only 9 squares. You can win in 9 moves or tie in 9 moves, but you can actually win in 5. And we're trying to play tic-tac-toe in a world of business when really what we need is a tribe strategy. And a tribe strategy is playing chess. And so everybody in your tribe moves differently. They're not all going to be people that are going to work with you. They're not all customers. Some people can connect you with customers. Some people are vendors. Every single one of them moves in a different way, and you have to stay in touch with them and know, understand, and like and trust them. But the key thing is any single piece on the chessboard can take the king and win the game. So once you start to understand how to move those pieces, you end up giving people what they want. And you can have everything in life that you want if you just help other people get what they want. That's what Zig Ziglar says, and that's what I believe in. So all of this is not about sales. It's about building quality relationships with people. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you with this. It's your last chance. There's no turning back. You take the blue pill and the story ends, and you wake up on Facebook watching cat videos and advertising yourself into oblivion, or you take the red pill and you stay in Tribeland, and Deb and I can show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. And remember, all we're offering you is the truth and nothing more. But the bottom line is, go to baconcoach.com/CRM, and you can download that case study and kind of get a sense of how that system works. And now I will open it up for questions. So, or you know what I'd love too is any feedback. What did you guys think? That would be awesome too. So tell me what you thought, any feedback, and that's it. So let me stop my share and I'll be able to see you. And there we go. Oh, look at that. I got a 10.
Yay. I love it. Eugene did have a question.
Yeah.
Without telling us who the client is, what industry were they in?
They were in the I'll tell you, I won't tell you the client, but they're in the barcoding industry. So they sell printers, they sell supplies, they do service, they do a whole bunch of different things. And the same thing that I showed you also is working for a lawyer. What we did is the exact same thing. He had 160, he already had the content. He had 160 blog posts that he shared once. And so we went back and actually used his team to reshare the stuff. And since then, since we've been resharing the blog posts, all of a sudden they've been getting a heck of a lot more engaging phone calls and actually selling and closing more clients. So yeah,
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just was curious because you mentioned during the COVID pandemic and how much money they made. Everybody was struggling last year, and they came out ahead. I wanted to understand the industry. Now I understand why. Okay.
Yeah, because they were in the supply chain industry last year, but even it was a struggle. I mean, they shut down 100% in March. I mean, that was me. I was freaking out too, because all of a sudden it's like March is like my business went like that. There was nothing. They said, we can't do anything. We're not going to talk to you for a month. We need to get all of our employees working from home. And they went from being a sales organization to an IT company, But even with that, starting in pretty much mid-April, end of May, they made up all that ground because they were standing out where the other customers didn't do anything. They didn't communicate with their clients, They were too busy prospecting, looking for new people, and where these guys were actually focusing more on their clients, and that's why they ended up getting that kind of result.
I appreciate that. I have a comment, not such a question. So in our small company at Roadmap Technologies, we have the Beast, we have Salesforce, and we also have eye contact. And the CEO is a very technical person, and he loves sending out quadrillion email blasts. Right. But the challenge that we have, our differences that we have is he likes sending out messages without a plan, but then our website doesn't line up with the consistent messaging. And we always get into a verbal debate. You can't just blast all these people and then you go to look at our website. It's like, it's oil and vinegar,
Yeah. Well, and that's the biggest thing is what we do is we focus on, an example of this is I'm doing a webinar for a client today. Okay. So we're doing a rehearsal at 11. We're doing the actual webinar at 3. We sent an email that says, hey, here's what the webinar is about. We sent out a social post that went out to all of their sales teams. So that went out to about 1,500 people on LinkedIn. And, we get as many people to come and watch it. One thing I can tell you is we get a lot of people sign up for the webinar and nobody shows up. We've given webinars to nobody, but that's okay. Because then that webinar is put on the website as a replay because people are so zoomed out, they're zoomies, they don't want to spend the time to watch a webinar. But they will go watch the replay. So we make sure that after it's done, we not only send the people that signed up, but we let everybody else know, hey, even though you missed it, the replay is sitting there. So they're trained to know they can watch it any time. What ends up happening is people go watch it on their own. And the next thing you know, they're contacting the salesperson and they're selling the product that they're doing on the webinar. So the system has to be cohesive. You have to get them back to the website in order to capture the information and track the success of what's going on. And that's why that Bacon system is so important. It's the website, it's the analytics, and then it's the content driving traffic to it. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Jane,
any questions?
Off mute.
I did take myself off mute. Well, mainly because I saw my business rise during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Exponentially grew, exploded. And I believe that's exactly what people did not know how to communicate
Right.
in a pandemic and how to keep a workforce cohesive, connected.
Right.
So I did a lot more internal communications than external, actually.
That's awesome.
Big shift for me, but it was an interesting shift to see where businesses were falling, because normally, as you all know, marketing, PR, it goes away. We're the first to go. We're also the first to come back.
Right.
And, but this is the first time that I have seen we were elevated. We were elevated as, I need you, and you're bringing value to my company. I need your help. So
I could tell you that 75% of my clients fell off the face of the earth. 25% of my clients actually improved what they did, and the ones that improved it were the ones that actually got the results. The ones that cut it off were the ones that struggled and let people go.
So it was an interesting shift for me to see the elevation of the value that we bring to an organization.
Yeah,
and
very
how
cool.
Leadership recognize that. But you know what? I did some training. I liked your presentation a lot, Brian. I took a lot of notes, which I don't normally necessarily do. You always have good content.
Thank you.
But not a but, and question. Worked with a training sales guy for my own business, and this is exactly what he was doing 30 years ago. Is that we had a big wheel of where do you get your work? Jane, you're spending tons of time on RFPs and you haven't gotten one client from an RFP yet.
Right.
But every time you go to lunch with someone or do a presentation, you walk away with 1, 2+ clients.
Right.
So
Exactly.
let's stop doing RFPs
Right.
and start going to lunch a little more often. The hips are pretty happy about that. I don't know if my doctor is, but so those are the way you do. But working your network. I mean, my dad was the consummate networker.
Yeah, and the concept is define. Here's the other thing too. I mean, in when we go into a deeper dive, I actually define know, like, and trust in a way that makes sense for business, because everybody talks about know, like, and trust, but in this we really talk about how to almost like rank them. And when you get to that point, that's when you can decide those 150 people need to be in that tribe, and those are the people that you stay in touch with. And when you focus on the people that have value or you have value to, the end result of your time is way more fruitful than, trying to do all this other stuff. I mean, I've gone to so many Zoom groups where they had, hundreds of people in there, and you got nothing out of it. Everybody was trying to sell everybody else. It was a free-for-all, and there was no value to be had. Right, exactly, where, if I spent that same time reaching out to 10 people and having a conversation with 3 of them, I ended up having a lot more return on investment in a lot of different ways. Not sales, but in a way to communicate with people that made sense.
So is this new, I'm dominating this, well, these questions are popping up on me. Is this new, Jane, I say we have a lot of connections in common, and I saw your website and it really impressed me. No, it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't
Right.
go there. And second, we have a few connections, but I wouldn't say they're hardcore connections for me. So, and now I want to pitch you. I mean, I literally have it in my profile. If you're looking to sell, I'm not your connection.
Right.
I mean,
but it's never going to stop anybody.
If you were really impressed by me, you might have wanted to look at my profile.
Right. But
Oh
see,
yeah,
the
I tell people that.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, but the problem is that what most of those people are doing is automated. And so there are people out there selling, will get you 30. Here's the bottom line. Is somebody out there is selling, I can go through LinkedIn and automate every PR person, and you could sell to that PR person. They don't know you, like you, trust you. They connect with you, and they're going to pitch you. And some of them are buying in-mail to circumvent even the connection to try to get you to buy. But they're missing the whole concept of, nobody in business is going to do business with somebody that just connects with them. But, they're using consumer mentality to work in a B2B space, and it doesn't work. Right. And that's why it doesn't. Suze, go ahead and ask your question, because I've got 3 minutes. So
yeah, you got to go. The thing is I'm thinking a little bit different in the rural area, because I made 2 really good connections and joined a coalition because they managed to find me on a Zoom call.
And that's open, but
Yeah,
what you've done is, because you've met them, you did the first part, which is A, you've met them, B, you've had a conversation with them, and C, you turned them into what I call CRM worthy. They're worthy of having a conversation to see where you can take it. And the end result in business is, can you recommend them? Can they recommend you? Or can you do business together? At that top tier, that's where the magic happens.
yeah, but Zoom helped with us where when we lost the person-to-person things.
Yeah.
Actually, Zoom, I made better connections because
Well, you made more. Yeah, you made more connections, and the key thing is there's nothing wrong with Zoom. I'm not saying Zoom connections are bad. I'm just saying that there's got to be a personal connection, whether it's Zoom or not, face to face or Zoom. So
perfect. Thank you, and an excellent presentation.
Thank you. So
so most of this you geared toward LinkedIn, which I use LinkedIn, but I've been trying to use Sales Navigator because in manufacturing there's so many niches that I wanted to specifically get to them, but there's no way to take your Sales Navigator people to put them in your LinkedIn so you can connect with them there.
Well, and that's one of the things that I do is I find a way to actually make that happen. And through the CRM that I use, Nimble, I can actually grab their information out of LinkedIn and pull them into the CRM and continue the conversations there. But there's ways to make it work. But the problem is Sales Navigator doesn't give you everything you need to complete the connection. Right, Deb?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I hate to do this, guys. I got to jump to my next meeting.
But you guys continue chatting.
But Deb, you continue to chat because you take this over from this point, and you can answer a lot of the questions because you do a lot of the LinkedIn stuff too, and you know Sales Navigator and all that fun stuff. So cool. Thank you guys for the opportunity. I appreciate it. You know how to get a hold of me. I know y'all. So all right. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Well, this really is great information. The thing, and I'm not selling anybody. If anybody's interested, I did put the link in there for the program that Brian and I are doing. It starts today, so might just be too soon for you to consider it. I'm sure he'll offer it again. The thing that I'm most interested in is that we can do this with 150 people. I think we all keep thinking that it's overwhelming. We've got, like Brian said, we've got, 1,000 connections here and 2,000 connections there and 3,000 people in our database. And then if you're like me, my brain just shorts out. And so then what I do is I don't communicate with them at all. And so it'll be interesting to kind of figure that out. I've been trying to do his 10-10-10 theory. One of the things that, or philosophy, not theory. I've been really working on, at least telling people happy birthday. And just going through every morning on the platforms, because it tells you, right, so-and-so is having a birthday today. And every single day, I have someone who I might not have had contact with in years respond to that and at least say thanks. And so that's kind of opening that back up. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.